All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. So Tuesday, um, we're going to talk a lot about proportions. Um, I'm going to start by just explaining a little bit more about what we were doing on Monday. Let me just erase this here, um, and then hopefully that will get you to where we need to be to lead you into doing this new stuff. So apologies on this. Uh, some writing from last year, believe it or not. All right, here we go. So real quick, let's revisit that puppy problem so that way you can relate this to proportions, right? So puppy, I'm going to actually make this even easier than what we're talking about today, as in at 0 days, it starts with 14 ounces, then it bumped up to 10, and it added another 14. When we talk about a proportion, it's basically the idea that every time we change one value, we're going to change another. So if we add another 10 days, we add another 14 pounds. Another 10 days, ounces, sorry, not pounds. That's a heavy puppy. Add another 14. Add another 10 days, add another 14 pounds, right? And on the graph, that looks like it's going to look like a pattern. And we're going to talk a lot more about that type of pattern. But for right now, just know that's what you see when you see like that nice straight line. So, right, 0 days starts at 14, 10 days, it goes up 14, 10 days, it goes up 14, 10 days, it goes up 14. Now, this is just nice the way I set up the graph. It's not always going to look like that. It's not always going to be nice right on the points like that on the cross, but cross where the points cross. But you can see it's a pattern. We'll talk a lot more about that pattern. But a proportion is basically just, hey, every time we go up 10, go up 14 on this side. So that's how you can check whether it's a proportion or not as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But for right now, just know proportion is the way we change a comparison. All right. So now, it was easy when we had these nice small numbers, right? When we could just add 10, add another 14. But let's take a look at an example where that's not possible and how we're going to set that up. All right. It says that Kenny can make 7 origami cranes in 10 minutes. So this is actually very similar to the dishes, right? So 7 cranes every 10 minutes. He read a story about a girl who made 1,505 cranes, 1,505 cranes. So he was curious how long would it take him to make that many cranes. So at 0 cranes, he makes 0. At 0 time, he makes 0 cranes. Makes sense. All right. And after 10 minutes, he created 7 cranes, origami cranes. So, just like the last problem, the easy way would be to say 20 minutes would be 14 cranes, right? Every 10 minutes, we're adding 7 cranes. 30 minutes, 21 cranes. Every 10 minutes, we add another 7 cranes. It's going to take us a long time to bump up to 1,500. I mean, heck, even if we go by tens, we're going to have to, half it at some point because of the 5. So either way, we're kind of stuck that way. All right, so let's use the proportions in a different way. And that is to say, what we can do is we can actually just take a moment in time, 10 minutes, 7 cranes. So 10 minutes, and we're comparing that, right? 10 minutes, 7 cranes. We're comparing that. That is a moment in time. Now let's take a different moment in time, which is, it's going to take him a while, but at some time, question mark minutes, he's going to make 1,505 cranes, right? And so at both of those minutes, the proportion is going to hold. That means it's going to be equal, right? Another 10 minutes, another 7 cranes, another 10 minutes, another 7 cranes, until he gets up to 1,505 cranes. We can set up this proportion now. When we do that, make sure the minutes, if you set up a fraction, 10 minutes, 7 cranes, minutes over cranes, question mark minutes over 1,505 cranes. All right. I reset up the fraction. And then here, just make sure they match up. Now, we've done this before. We've dealt with this before. This. Now, one way you could do it is cross multiplication. I'm going to show you another way to do it. But yeah, you would just take 7 times x, 10 times 1,505, so 7x equals, it would actually become 15,050 divided by 7, and I believe you get 2,150 minutes. So anytime you have a problem like that, where you're comparing two things, minutes to cranes, you can set up a proportion. That's going to be a lot easier than trying to follow that number all the way up to 1,505. Let me show you two other methods to solve this and see, because here's the thing, if you don't understand cross multiplication, here are two other methods you could use. All right, one method is called the big one, and I was under the impression last year when I taught this that you guys know what that is. And what that is think about it. If these fractions are equal, right, that means that you can bump this smaller one up to the big one in some way. And you can alter any number by multiplying it by 1, right? But with fractions, what's cool is you can create, now this is the big one. This is a fraction that represents 1. So for example, like 100 over 100. And basically what that does then is you can alter 10 over 7, take it times 100 over 100, which is just 1. You get 1,000 over 700. And your goal is to get this number to be equal to this number, because if the denominator is equal to that denominator, then the numerators will be equal as well. So 100 didn't get us there, but we got about halfway there, so maybe 200 over 200. So unfortunately with this method, it takes a little guessing, right? And then you get 2,000 over 1,400. We're a lot closer. So maybe don't bump up another 100. Maybe do 250, see what happens. But ultimately, I think your answer is, I want to say it's 215 over 215. Yes, it is. Then it'd be 2150 over that, and right there's your answer. You see, so these are the same. So that big one, 215 over 215, which is the number 1, it makes our numbers really big. We bumped up 10 over 7 to equal the 1505 in the denominator. And so right there is your answer, 2,150. So that's one method. Another method, and a final method we'll go over here, it's very similar to cross multiplication because you're going to do the same steps. They're just backwards, actually. But what's nice about this is you get rid of the fraction pretty easily. So look at the denominator of this fraction. That is what you're going to use to multiply. So times 1505. I'll put it over 1 on both sides. You can write any number over 1. And basically what you're going to do then is you're going to multiply these two. And when you have 1 in the numerator and the denominator, the same number, those cancel. So you're left with x on this side. And then you're just going to multiply straight across. 1505 times 10. 1 times 7, and then from here you can divide. When you divide 15,050 by 7, you get 2,150. Basically the same thing as cross multiplication. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it. Have a good rest of your day.